Bring your attention to the breath. Follow the breath along the central channel that starts at the stomach and ends at the nostrils. Note that the inhalation goes upward from stomach to nostrils, and that the exhalation moves downward from nostrils to stomach. So we are following the breath as it moves up and down the elevator, running from the stomach to the nostrils, from the nostrils to the stomach. And along the upward and downward routes, we may well note the various physical sensations that we are experiencing. Observe, is the breath jagged or jittery? If so, gently invite the breath to be softer, smoother, and more refined. Let the breath feel velvety. And ensure that you taste the breath fully when it's in the stomach region and when it's in the nostrils. The stomach may taste more earthy, while the nostrils, of course, taste more airy. When we go upward, we draw the breath for the heavens. And when we go downward, we allow the breath to sink into the earth. Into the nether regions even. It's as if we were dealing with breath that somehow were capable of light or lightness or levity, and a breath that somehow became dark, heavy, earthy, nebulous. Now change the angle of your focus such that you now become interested in what it's like after the end of the exhalation and after the end of the inhalation. You might ask yourself the question, what is this after the exhalation and before the inhalation? And what is this after the end of the inhalation and before the beginning of the exhalation? Let's call both of these experiences or understandings of void spaces. So see what it's like to witness the void space after the exhalation and before the inhalation, as well as after the end of the inhalation and before the start of the exhalation. Right now, because of our conceptual setup, it certainly can seem as if there are two void spaces, one down below and the other up above. Let's investigate this matter more closely. Let go of the elevator metaphor and just allow breathing to occur naturally. Therefore, there simply is an in-breath and an out-breath, an in-breath and an out-breath. That is, relax all concepts associated with upward and downward elevator-like movement. And just allow the breath to, as it were, do its own thing. Let the breath be very natural. As you relax those concepts, what you will experience is that the breath is actually moving in a very small space, not the large space that we had originally posited for the purposes of exploring things at an earlier point in this meditation. So right now, understand that the breath in and out is actually moving in a gentle, small, yet unconstrained space. It's fluttering in this appropriately small space. Notice how it gently moves again in this very small yet appropriate space. then ask yourself the question, are there two basic void spaces or only one? In other words, into what is the breath going, and from what is it rising out of? And what you discover, aha, is that there's only one void space, that from which the breath is arising and that to which it is returning. It's as if the breath is gently moving, not too far, in close proximity to this void space. It's as if, in other words, the breath is actually in conversation with this no thing space. Begin to feel, in fact, how the space is gravitational in nature, such that the breath is magnetically related to the space, going out of it and yet intimately drawn back into it. The breath really doesn't want to go very far from this most interesting space. Let us now drop the name void space and give it a more appropriate name. Let's call this the center. Therefore, the breath is in conversation with the center. Consider the question, the most obvious one, so don't think about it, just observe. Is the breath moving? Yes, it's moving in a small ambit. It's moving gently and suavely. Rhythmically. That question is intended to set up the next one. Is the center moving? Does the center move when the breath moves? Or does the center remain unmoving? If it feels as if the center is being dragged about by the breath, then I invite you to relax and look more closely. Is the center moving? Or indeed, is the center absolutely still? The center is absolutely still. Now, is the breath moving in space and unfolding through time? We might as well say, yes, it certainly is experienced as moving in space and unfolding through time. But that question is only meant to set up the next one. Is the center in space and unfolding through time? If you prefer, you can ask the question, where is the center? And when is the center? And those questions are meant to be, in a sense, deconstructed. Because if by where you mean some physical location, and if by when you mean temporally bound, then you're not really going to find a center understood geometrically. Or temporally. Understand that the center is a metaphor or symbol for what is not spatially positioned or temporally bound. Let this understanding sink in now. The breath moves while the center, unmoved, is not in space or unfurling through time. Therefore, gently refine your understanding of what the center is and is not. As the breath continues to move in and out and in and out, all quite rhythmically. So attention is on the breath moving in and out, attention being pointed in that regard, while awareness is illuminating the center. Again, breathing requires attention, while the center is illumined by awareness. Now adjust your understanding thus by considering the question, is the center illumined by, quote, another thing called awareness? Or is the center at one with, i.e., none other than awareness? In other words, can you actually discover awareness set over and against the center, or can you not? That is, every time you go looking for the center, don't you actually find awareness? And whenever you start from the center, don't you also find awareness? Therefore, allow there to be a total merging, if you will, of the center with awareness as the breath continues to move in and out. And taste what this refined understanding of the center is like. Notice that it feels more light and energetic. So now we can speak of the center of awareness, or, of course, better yet, the center that is awareness. And the breath is that which is coming from the center that is awareness and slowly or quickly being drawn back into the center awareness. Now, does it feel as if the breath is occurring at a distance from the center that is awareness, my awareness? Is it in any way outside of the center awareness? Begin to experience another adjustment such that the breath is pervaded by the center, which is awareness. Notice what this adjustment in the understanding is really like. The breath is even more intimate, and even the word intimate isn't quite right, since the breath is moving in the center or awareness. Just feel the deep, deep, concentrated steadiness right now. The breath is lightly moving back and forth in a small compass. And at every single point, it is touched by the center, which is awareness. In fact, the breath never comes from somewhere else, and it never departs from the center, awareness. It's natural to continue the inquiry by looking at the relationship between the center, awareness, and the I, or I consciousness. Is the I different from the center, awareness, or the same as the center, awareness? Try to make yourself different from the center. Try very hard to peel yourself off from the center. Notice that you can't even move. You're stuck still. You can't make the center into some point located on a Cartesian plane. And that's because the center, which is awareness, isn't a point on a plane. And that's because also I am the center. Let this more refined understanding be felt now. The understanding that I am the center, awareness. And gently bring the attention to the breath. I, that is the center or awareness, remain stock still and illuminatingly open while the breath gently moves in me. What is it like when the breath rhythmically moves back and forth while I, the center, awareness, remain unmoved? From the vantage point of the finite mind, it can seem as if there are 7 billion breathing apparatuses that are attached to 7 billion eyes, that is, centers or awarenesses. However, if we let go of thought and memory, then is it possible that breathing is indeed rhythmically going back and forth 7 billion ways while the I, the center or awareness, is universal and therefore singular and all-encompassing? In other words, what if the I weren't limited or localized at all, but were instead universal and all pervading. Am I the center, the awareness, universal, indivisible, all pervading? Letting go of all concepts, that is, all thoughts, all memory, all preconceptions. What's left but I, I consciousness? I am that I am, the one true and only center of awareness. All breathing is occurring in me, the unique subject, the only self, God consciousness. If this were so, then all rhythmical breathing would be whispering my name, which is none other than I, or God. If all this is true, then I am the center. I am awareness. I am I consciousness, God consciousness, and all breathing is simply rising and falling rhythmically in me. And therefore, all breathing is from me, in me, of me, in yearning, and it's falling to return indivisible, beyond name and form, to me. Which is to say that all breathing is a love song.